Carl Paladino is Erie County Executive Chris Collins. Thanks very much for your time.
I'm glad to be here, Liz.
So was this a difficult decision for you? Because at one point you actually wanted to run for governor. So was it hard to stand next to someone else who is now running when you yourself are not on the ballot?
Oh, no, not at all. I called myself the reluctant candidate when I was looking because, frankly, there wasn't anyone else out there talking about the fundamental changes that we need to fix our state, the Empire State, and I was thrilled when Carl Paladino stepped forward. He's the only candidate talking about reducing taxes, whereas the other candidates are using words like they'll hold the line on taxes. And I step back and say we're the highest tax state in the nation. We're the least business-friendly state in the nation. We've lost 40% of our population relative to the rest of the country over the last 60 years. When I hear career politicians step up and say they're going to maintain the status quo if they can, they're giving up before they even start. Carl Paladino is talking about the issues I talked about, which is reducing taxes, taking on Medicaid, taking on state aid to cities and schools, and taking on the municipal unions that have abused the taxpayers for years. And so as a county executive, dependent on a lot of issues coming out of Albany, endorsing Carl Paladino was the easiest thing I've done.
Okay, let me ask you though, I mean, certainly there was no love lost between yourself and Rick Lazio. You were headed towards a potentially acrimonious primary with him. And so how much of this is just based on the fact that you just don't like the guy?
No, this is all based about what Carl has said he's going to do, which I know he will do, and he is the only candidate in the race that's talking about the issues that will help us reclaim our past glory as the Empire State. And so as a businessman that has created jobs and made a payroll, Carl Paladino is the real deal. And this is about Carl Paladino changing the state, not so much about what the other candidates won't do. But the fact of the matter is Carl Paladino is the only candidate who can fix New York State.
Okay. Well, you are his first elected official backing him. I mean, I don't think it's being too far out of the realm here to say that he is not a long shot because he has a lot of money, but he doesn't have institutional support. He has you, and he has Erie County GOP Chairman Nick Langworthy, who we also saw there in that video. And so, you know, Rick Lazio is the choice of the Conservative Party and also of the Republican Party. Now he's facing a primary, but why would you be backing a guy splitting really with the party of which you're a member to back a dark horse? I mean, he could end up being a spoiler.
Well, let's face it, I'm a businessman first, and I happen to be the county executive running Erie County like a business and implementing my reform measures, and it's working. Carl will do the same thing in Albany. The other candidates won't do it. So while politics was at play, and I'll call it politics at its worst, and even within the Republican Party, Carl is a candidate for the people. And I suspect we're going to see a lot of enthusiasm for Carl as his campaign moves forward. And the fact of the matter is, I can't explain the endorsements for Rick with the other parties, and the Conservatives should be quite worried that he is their candidate. And when you have Andrew running as the Democrat and Independence Party, and you have Carl running as the Republican and the taxpayer candidate, that kind of leaves the Conservative Party hung out there in a very dangerous place come November.
Did you even consider endorsing Rick Lazio, and have you spoken to Rick Lazio prior to making this endorsement today?
No, I have not spoken to Rick Lazio since he was endorsed, and I would never go down that road because he's not talking about the fundamental changes needed to fix our state. It's you know, political sound bites, and there's no energy there, and clearly his lack of enthusiasm is evidenced by his recent financial filings. So I don't view him as a credible candidate. Carl is the real deal. He is not only a credible candidate, he's the only one talking about the issues. I said earlier today, the best Andrew Cuomo is doing right now is saying he'll work to hold the line on taxes. We're the highest tax state in the nation. We've lost 40% of our population relative to the rest of the country. Businesses don't have money to invest, and we're stuck with things like Excelsior programs as a desperate move to try to convince people to put jobs here, when in fact if we had North Carolina's relative tax burden, we'd be a booming state again. Carl's talking about the real issue.
Okay, so let me ask you then, in terms of Carl, I mean, he's been here on several occasions, and our viewers are quite familiar with him. He's also a little on the controversial side. I mean, there was that email scandal that happened early on. Obviously, it didn't derail him because he doesn't have to worry so much about fundraising. He has his own money to fall back on. Are you not concerned that he could implode or be found a little bit too perhaps outspoken, and that he could end up tanking himself by putting his foot in his mouth, for lack of a better way to put it?
Well, Carl is Carl. I think the public is sick and tired of career politicians who filter everything that comes in one ear before they speak to it, and at the end of the day, when you hear them speak, they don't say anything. Carl's Carl. I do believe that now that he is qualified to run on the conservative line, he knows he's in a battle. He appreciates, and I think more so today than maybe a couple of months ago, how every word is weighed, sometimes not fairly. But I think the public sees Carl as a candidate of the people, not a career politician. So they're going to cut him some slack on that. But most importantly, he's the only one talking about the issues. And right now, this election year more than ever, the public is sick and tired of the status quo politics as usual. And that's why Carl's got more than a fighting chance this November.
Okay, and so also are you concerned, since you brought up the issue of finances? I mean, Rick Lazio, it's true he's got less than $700,000 on hand. He's not the only one. The state party doesn't actually have much more than that on hand. And I know you're a prominent Republican figure in Western New York. Are you concerned about the future of the state party and its ability going forward to assist Republicans? I know Carl Paladino doesn't have to worry about it perhaps, but you've got some big races, Senate races going on in your neck of the woods, and it's a crucial battle